Be with you. It's actually going quite well. When you look at the stores that we plan to be down about 80%, they're down about 50% for those that we initially open. And then it improves by about, 3 to 5 points each week. So I'm actually pretty pleased with the way the stores are performed. And it's pretty universal. It's across the country as new states open up. We have yet to see, the biggest impact in metro markets that are coastal, that were impacted by the pandemic. They're going to be opening in the next week and a half. So we'll see how they perform. And while this is going on, we're also pleased with the level of our digital business. So the digital business remains strong during this entire time frame.
And so because that digital business has remained so strong, and you were already looking at a store closure program with the Polaris plan announced in February, so right before the pandemic really took hold here in the United States, how are you reevaluating the role that your stores play? Are more stores going to be closed than you had previously planned?
So we're still evaluating that right now. So what we had indicated before was that we had 3 buckets of stores. We had our flagships, we had our magnet stores, and we had our neighborhood stores. And the neighborhood stores are 125. We've already closed about 30 of those. So there is a group of almost 100 stores that we were going to close over the next 2.5 years. You might see us accelerate that, but we haven't made that full decision yet. As it stands right now, we are reopening all of our stores, including our neighborhoods. And, they're still serving customers. They're still part of our overall omni-channel strategy. We've implemented curbside pickup into all of those, which has become quite popular. We're working through the inventory that we had that we need to liquidate so that we're ready for the fall season. But we are evaluating all of that real estate and imagining, what it looks like in terms of their cash flow as an individual sales, as a store unit versus what we could potentially get in terms of its real estate value. So we will make those decisions as we go forward.
You and I spoke a couple weeks ago when you were just looking at reopening some of these stores, and there was still a lot of decisions to be made about what the support was going to look like in the Macy's organization for the stores that were reopened. You weren't exactly sure what the personnel levels would look like, but suggested Macy's would be smaller. I know there are some employees that are wondering if they will ever be coming back from furlough. Can you tell me what you're looking at for your staff, both in-store and at a corporate level post-crisis?
So what we found is that when we've opened stores, as mentioned, so to be down 50% as we start versus the 80 that we expected, we've built that into all of our go-forward plans. So all the stores that are opening, we're expecting those levels of sales. As it relates to then what our corporate employees, we're bringing them back from furlough right now in stages. We will be a smaller, more leveraged company. So we're mindful of that. We will make sure that we're going to be focused on the top line as well as the bottom line. So we want to make sure that our SG&A is in line with the way that we see the business going. Whereas we are pleased with how the stores have reopened and how our digital business has been, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We want to make sure we do believe it's going to be a gradual recovery. And we are looking with conservative plans to both the third and the fourth quarters. And we're buying accordingly and we are expensing accordingly.
And so you're talking about some conservative measures. We know you had to take a lot of defensive actions during the crisis. You've just secured $4.5 billion in financing, both in debt and this asset-backed loan. Are all of these moves that you're making really sort of more defensive rather than offensive? Are you able or in a position to go after some of this market share right now that is being opened up from retailers that are filing for bankruptcy or closing stores en masse that are nearby your locations?
Yeah, thank you, Courtney. I think look, we're very pleased with the level of refinancing that we were able to secure in the 2 tranches that you described. So both the asset-based, inventory, which is funding basically the credit line, as well as what the inventory has done for the bond deal. And that $4.5 billion is not only going to help us get through the crisis, it helps us invest in our business as we defined as the Polaris strategy back in February. And it also helps us retire debt maturities that are coming in January of 21 as well as January of 22. And we will have cushion. So we have all of the means to be able to invest in the business that we see fit. I think what we've seen is that we do think that the customer is going to be more a digital customer. And while omni-channel remains an incredibly important part of our overall strategy, we do think that the penetration of digital is going to rise. And so being very mindful of that and the investment that's required, we're ready and prepared to do that.
If we can shift gears a little bit, obviously the coronavirus crisis is not the only one that all of us are dealing with in our country right now. And I know you and Macy's have put out several statements over your social media accounts, internally and to customers, about racial inequality. What can you do as a CEO? What can Macy's do as a company that serves America to really help fix the issues that we're dealing with right now?
So I think the first thing that we can do is we have over 100,000 colleagues that work for Macy's that have an expectation that as a company and as America's department store, that we are going to be highly respectful of their needs and exactly how they're looking at opportunities. And what I've committed to my culture is that they're going to be seen, they're going to be heard, and they're going to have opportunities that we are going to help them achieve. And so, we have D&I, or diversity and inclusion, has been part of our core values for years. And so that has been very important. So we as a team right now have been listening very intently after the George Floyd flashpoint in our society. And our colleagues were very clear with us that this time is very different. And so we just had a virtual town hall that we had 10,000 of our colleagues participate in. And, we're now formulating plans about what that then means within our company, but then also what stand do we need to take externally? And as America's department store, how we will step into this and do it in a way that is respectful of all of our customers and all of our colleagues, but also be on the right side of this. And from my perspective, that's going to be very important. And so we have stepped into it. We've made statements to our customers. We've put statements onto our social sites. And we don't have all the answers. We're still discovering what we will do. But we will take action on this that we think is right for our company and right for our role right now in retail in America.
I understand that you have an internal initiative where you're looking to spend about 5% of some portion of the budget towards minority-owned businesses when it comes to the vendor relationships that you have, I believe. Is that still a target that feels appropriate for you, or do you need to change that? Do you need to expand thinking like that, those types of solutions?
So this is one where, you and I have had a couple conversations about this where we've done a lot with certain programs like Workshop, what we've done with the Story brand, what we've done with Market by Macy's. And we have exposed ourselves to lots of minority and women-owned businesses, and we're able to do that at a small scale. Our opportunity is how do we do it at a larger scale? And what are we going to do about that in the future? So that is where, I am very much listening to, I've got a lot of advisors out there that are saying, hey, there's a lot of Black talent that is ready for a place that can operate at scale. And how does Macy's enable that in ways that we haven't been able to in the past? So that is on my agenda. I don't have those answers yet, but with respect to everything with diversity and inclusion, that now is on my agenda to work with my team to help solve. So I know we have to figure out a way to scale this talent in ways that they're reaching more Americans than we've been able to with our current programs.
I know Macy's has often been pointed to as a business that has done a pretty good job with female representation in a lot of its executive ranks and on its boards, perhaps at least a percentage that is slightly better than what we've seen from other even consumer-facing companies. Is that a goal, potentially, to look at a more African-American talent and make sure that those numbers become more representative as well?
I think we've made really good progress on this one, Courtney. So we have a 5-pronged D&I strategy. And one of them is basically, what does your internal talent look like? And does that internal talent represent the communities that you serve at all levels, from the ground level, from your front forward facing, colleague, all the way up to the boardroom? And if you look at the composition of our board, you look at the composition of our senior executive committee, you look at everybody who is a director and above or a vice president and above, we've made very large headway on that in terms of a percent census. And that's across Black talent as well as other minority talent. So I'm proud of the progress we've made. We have basically said that we want to be, by the year 2025, 30% of our executive talent that would be at the vice president above going through the boardroom would be minority talent. And, we've made good progress. We were in the high teens. We're now in the low 20s. I'm proud of the progress we've made on that, but we still have work to do.
Got it. Jeff Gennette, CEO and chairman of Macy's, thank you for joining us here today.
Thanks, Courtney.